This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you a quick overview of the news in Idaho for last week. For this week's report, we're going to be starting off with developments that are going on in the valley, from a food restaurant that is opening up that has been greatly anticipated, plus some other road and court developments. Then we'll be moving into the Legislature, which is finally finishing up. This is going to be our second to last week covering stuff for that, because they'll be closing out the session. And then we'll close out the last bit of it with some news about skiing, plus a mainstay manufacturer in the Treasure Valley that's going to be closing its doors. So starting off with our first one that we teased here, Meridian welcomes Wiennerschnitzel to the Treasure Valley. This comes by KTVB7 by staff. The Treasure Valley is relishing the introduction of a fast food favorite as the Wiennerschnitzel opens its doors in Meridian. The grand opening of the new location at 3110 West Quintal Drive, Friday, March 22nd, has been met with enthusiasm from local hot dog aficionados. Paul Del Buffalo, the owner of the PRD Food Group LLC, expressed excitement about the iconic chain coming to the Gem State, promising to uphold Wiennerschnitzel's reputation for quality American fare, with plans to open 2 more locations in the area. The expansion into Boise is part of Wiennerschnitzel's broader growth strategy in the Pacific Northwest, with Ted Milburn, the U.S. Director of Franchise Development, highlighting the significant demand for the brand in the region. As the first of 3 planned locations open, the excitement is palpable, with the promise of more to come for the Boise fast food landscape. Fans of the brand can look forward to indulging in the taste of nostalgia and a new culinary delight for us locals. And then speaking of things that have shot across the headlines this week, a coordinated escape, the Boise hospital incident. This comes by several sources. The Boise Police Department's intense manhunt for 2 suspects involved in a violent escape and shooting at the St. Alphonsus Regional Medical Center culminated in a high-speed chase and arrest in Twin Falls. On March 21st, Tonya Huber was apprehended for allegedly harboring fugitive Skylar Mead after he and Nicholas Moose Umfauer were implicated in the escape and shooting of Idaho Department of Correction officers. The pursuit, reaching speeds of 100 miles per hour, ended in a Walmart parking lot where law enforcement officials pinned the suspect's vehicle. Huber, found with fentanyl in the truck, faces charges of harboring a fugitive, eluding, and a possession of a controlled substance, with a preliminary hearing set for April 15th. The incident began when Meade, serving a 20-year sentence for aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, was transferred to the hospital for self-inflicted injuries. As officers prepared to return him to prison, Umfenauer opened fire, injuring 2 officers. The Boise police responded to the scene where one officer's shot struck a IDOC officer. The suspect then fled, sparking a statewide alert. Boise Police Chief Ron Winiger described the event as a, quote, coordinated attack, end quote, to free Meade from custody. But moving to things related to the road in a more positive light, Kuna's Road to the Future, the proposed Meridian Road extension. This comes by the Boise Dev by Sydney Kidd. The city of Kuna is looking at an infrastructure project that could finally address the long-standing traffic and safety concerns associated with the notorious Kuna Curve. After decades of study and deliberation, the newly unveiled Kuna Cross Implementation Plan outlines a vision for extending Meridian Road southward to King Road, effectively eliminating the problematic curve by introducing a new railroad overpass. This plan, which has been in the conceptual phase since as far back as 1995, aims to streamline the main connection between I-84 and Kuna, enhancing the flow of both traffic and emergency response times. Kuna Planning and Zoning Director Doug Hansen emphasized the plan's potential to provide a clear roadmap for the project's realization. The proposed extension presents 2 design options, with the estimated cost ranging from $60 million to $68 million. Both alternatives feature a 4-lane bridge over Indian Creek and the Union Pacific Railroad alongside a 10-foot multi-use pathway for pedestrians and cyclists. The redesign would replace the current T intersection with a traditional stoplight intersection, addressing the site of 17 crashes recorded between 2019 and August of 2023. As Kuna City Council prepares to review the plan in May, discussion continues regarding which entity will take responsibility for the project, with the Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD, and the Ada County Highway District, or ACHD, both being potential candidates. The collaboration between the city's officials, ITD, and ACHD will be crucial in moving this project from planning to execution, with hopes of seeing significant progress within the next decade. And speaking of things that move slower than dirt, court dismisses activist group's challenge against Avimor annexation. This comes with the Boise Dev by Margaret Carmel. 4th District Court Judge Jonathan Medema has dismissed a lawsuit brought by the activist group SOS Eagle, which sought to challenge the city of Eagle's decision to annex the Avimor planned community. The court's decision, issued on last Monday, hinges on the group's inability to demonstrate legal standing, a requirement under Idaho law for contesting land use decisions such as annexation. Judge Medema's opinion clarified that being an, quote, affected person, end quote, necessitates more than just feeling the impact by a decision. It requires showing ownership of a property directly negatively impacted by the land use change. Despite SOS Eagle's efforts to represent concerns over the annexation, the court found that the group's description of its members and their property's interests too vague to meet the legal criteria for standing. The dismissal marks the end of SOS Eagle's district court challenge against the annexation of Avimor. This contentious issue has sparked years of debate and opposition within the Eagle community. Proponents of the annexation argued that incorporating the 8,000 home community into Eagle would allow the city to manage growth and its impact better, while opponents feared it would overextend the city's services and lead to increased property taxes for residents. Despite these concerns, Judge Medema's ruling emphasized that the potential increase in property taxes or speculative impact on the city's services did not suffice to establish the groups as, quote, affected persons, end quote, under the law. This decision opens the possibility for SOS Eagle to appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court, but for now, Avimor's path to becoming part of the city of Eagle remains clear. Which, if you found these stories helpful that we've talked about thus far and are enjoying the Midweek Report, do us a favor and hit the like button on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. It helps us reach more folks who love Idaho just like you. And speaking of something that Idahoans love to be talking about lately, Idaho Legislature considers shortening library trustees' terms amid debate. This comes by the Boise Deb by Margaret Carmel. In a move that could alter the governance of Idaho's library districts, the Idaho State Affairs Committee has passed Senate Bill 1235, a bill introduced by Senator Scott Herndon, a Republican from Sagal, aimed at reducing the term lengths for library trustees from 6 to 4. This legislative change, which would not affect city library systems with trustees appointed by mayors, is designed to bring library districts elections in line with school board elections, reflecting their shared role in education. Senator Herndon advocates for this adjustment as a means to grant voters more frequent opportunities to influence library programs and policies, including contentious issues such as drag queen story hours, COVID-19 related restrictions, and the availability of sexual materials within libraries. The bill's progression has not been without reservations. During the committee's discussion, Representative Brett Crane, a Republican from Nampa, acknowledged past difficulties in attracting candidates for library trustees positions as a possible reason for the previous extension of term lengths to 6 years. The bill advanced on party lines, with dissenting votes from only Representative John Gannon, a Democrat from Boise, and Representative Todd Achilles, also a Democrat from Boise. Critics of SB 1235, including residents who testified against the bill and representatives from the local League of Women Voters, argued that shortening trustee terms could lead to rapid and potential destabilizing changes in the library board's composition. They feared that such shifts could result in erratic policy changes affecting the stability and consistency of library services. As the bill moves to the House floor for further consideration, its implications for Idaho's library districts remain a focal point of debate. And speaking of things tied to libraries, we have Senate Bill 1418, a misstep in Idaho school safety legislation. This comes by the Idaho Dispatch by Saren Clendenon. Senate Bill 1418, a legislative proposal aimed at regulating the carrying of firearms on Idaho school properties, as expected, has sparked significant controversy and opposition. Sponsored by the Senate State Affairs Committee Chairman Senator Jim Guthrie, a Republican from Income, the bill was introduced as a replacement for the earlier House Bill 415, which we've talked about, but has since been criticized for not effectively expanding the rights of teachers and other individuals to carry firearms in schools. According to Greg Pruitt, the president of the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, the bill is seen as a form of gun control rather than empowerment for responsible gun owners. Key criticisms include the maintenance of the school board's authority to determine carry permissions, the codification of gun-free zone signs, and the mandatory yearly retraining requirements, which opponents argue could deter individuals from carrying and do not address the core issues at at hand. The bill's journey through the legislative process has been fraught with challenges, culminating in a decisive moment during a Senate committee hearing, where a motion to hold the bill in committee effectively stalled its progress for the current legislative session. Despite Guthrie's intentions to find a balance and address concerns raised by both sides of the debate, the bill's provisions have alienated gun right advocates, including major organizations like the NRA and Gun Owners of America, alongside a broad swath of Idaho's gun-owning public. The opposition's unified stance against Senate Bill 1418 underscores the seriousness of legislating firearm policies in educational settings. It highlights the deep division of how best to ensure the safety of students and staff while respecting the Second Amendment rights of Idahoans. Now, talking of things that are moving forward and aren't dying in committee, Governor Little signs bill to bolster Idaho's fight against Quagga mussels. This comes by KTV B7 by staff. Idaho is escalating its fight against the invasive Quagga mussel, which has posed a significant threat to the state's aquatic ecosystem since its detection in September of 2023. Governor Brad Little signed Senate Bill 1372 into law, allocating approximately $6.6 million to the Idaho State Department of Agriculture, or ISDA. This funding is aimed at supporting ongoing monitoring efforts and preparing the state for potential future eradication measures. The governor emphasized the high economic stakes, noting the potential for hundreds of millions of dollars in direct and indirect costs if the spread of Quagga mussels remains unchecked. In a proactive response to the infestation, ISDA conducted a treatment operation on a 6-mile section of the Snake River near Twin Falls, which we talked about in October, targeting the Quagga mussels. The aggressive copper-based treatment, while effective against the mussels, was expected to result in high fish mortality, impacting species such as large-scale suckers, northern pike minnow, yellow perch, and white sturgeon. The ISDA and the Idaho Fish and Game continue to assess the treatment's impact on the fish populations, as the state remains committed to safeguarding its waterways from invasive species. And also, speaking of another thing that we've talked about and the governor might sign, House Bill 617 awaits Governor Little's decision on needle exchange repeal. This comes by KTV B7 by Joe Paris. As talked about in the main show 2 weeks ago, a bill to repeal the Syringe and Needle Exchange Act is making its way through the legislature and has made some progress. House Bill 617, which seeks to dismantle the needle exchange initiative, has been sent to Governor Little's desk for final consideration. Proponents of the bill, such as Republican Senator Carl Bjork, argue that there is insufficient local evidence to demonstrate the program's effectiveness in reducing needle stick injuries. The bill's supporters, including Republican Senator Chris Trakel, contend that providing free needles and clean usage spaces sends the wrong message and does not align with their vision of helping those with substance abuse disorders. On the other side of the debate, critics of the repeal, including Democrat Senator Melissa Wintra, pointed to studies suggesting that syringe exchange programs can increase the likelihood of individuals seeking treatment for substance abuse. The controversy intensified following police searches at the Office of Idaho Harm Reduction, leading to the discovery of drug paraphernalia and the subsequent shutdown of the organization's exchange program. Despite this, Senator Wintra emphasized the importance of the harm reduction services and cautioned against repealing the program due to isolated incidences of misuse. As House Bill 617 awaits Governor Little's action, Idaho lawmakers and Idahoans wait to see if the governor will sign the bill or veto it. Which, if you didn't know Idaho even had a needle exchange program and you found other stories valuable, don't hesitate to share it. Your shares help us spread the news about our beautiful state and stories like this. And kind of coming to the tail end of things related to the legislature and trying to ease out of it here. Blaine County to vote on school funding levy. This comes by KTV B7 by staff. On May 21st, the residents of Blaine County will be faced with a pivotal decision that could shape the future of their local school district. The Blaine County School District's board members have put forth a resolution for a $1.85 million supplemental levy aimed at addressing a funding shortfall. Superintendent Jim Foudy emphasized the collective responsibility of the community in supporting this levy, which would translate to an additional $8.53 per $100,000 of a taxable assessed value each year for 2 years. This move comes in response to a $2 million deficit triggered by Idaho's shift from an enrollment-based to an attendance-based funded model for schools. Without the levy's approval, the district may be forced to make drastic cuts to programs such as preschool, gifted and talented education, full-day kindergarten, and summer school, affecting the elements of the county's educational system. The potential impact of these cuts has stirred concern among educators, with veteran pre-K teacher Emily Brown describing the prospect of losing preschool programs as heartbreaking. Superintendent Foudy views the appeal to taxpayers as a last resort, a necessary step to ensure the district's stability and the continuation of vital educational programs. As the community prepares to cast their votes, the outcome of the levy will undoubtedly have lasting implications for the Blaine County schools, students, and the broader educational landscape in Idaho. Update on House Bill 620 advancing knife rights in Idaho. This comes by the Bonner County Daily Bee by Mia Maldonado of the Idaho Capital Sun. As we talked about a little bit ago, House Bill 620, aimed at preventing local governments in Idaho from regulating knives, is making forward movement in the legislative process, moving closer to becoming a law. Presented by Representative Jordan Redmond, a Republican from Coeur d'Alene, the bill received an amended version's approval in the Senate State Affairs Committee on last Monday morning. This proposed state right preemption law seeks to ensure a uniform approach to the possession, sale, transfer, and manufacturing of knives across Idaho. Echoing protections afforded to firearms under the Second Amendment, Redmond emphasized the importance of recognizing knives as essential tools that many constituents carry daily for various purposes, from work-related activities in the kitchen and factories to recreational uses like hunting and camping. The bill, which has already passed the House of Representatives with a vote of 56 in favor and 13 against, includes exceptions for specific areas such as schools, courthouses, law enforcement facilities, among others. It also accommodates political subdivisions regulated by childcare. It allows for private contractors to maintain non-weapon security protocols, a position that has garnered support from entities like the Ford Idaho Center in Nampa, with the backing of Gun Rights, a national organization advocating for knife owners and manufacturers. House Bill 620 aligns Idaho with 14 other states that have enacted similar legislation. As the bill now heads to the Idaho Senate for a vote, it stands on the cusp of being presented to Governor Brad Little, who will decide its fate in the coming days. And speaking of things in the great outdoors and freeing ourselves from the stuff going on with the legislature, skiing season winding down, Idaho resorts announce closing dates. This comes by the Coeur d'Alene/Post-Fall Press by staff. As the skiing season draws to a close, Idaho's winter sport enthusiasts are taking their last runs down the slopes. Ski Idaho has announced the expected closing dates for several skiing areas across the state, with some already having ended their season. Bald Mountain, Cottonwood Butte, Little Sky Haven, and Snow Haven have all closed their doors this year. However, 15 other Gem State skiing areas remain open for now, including 3 in northern Idaho, offering skiers and snowboarders a few more chances to enjoy the snow. For those looking to hit the slopes a few more times, the following ski areas have set their closing dates. Magic Mountain Resort and Soldier Mountain will wrap up their seasons on March 23rd. Kelly Canyon Resort on March 30th, Rotarian on March 31st, and Pomerelle Mountain Resort on April 6th. Lost Trail Skiing Area will close on April 7th, followed by Bogus Basin, Brundage Mountain, Lookout Pass, and Schweitzer, all on April 14th. Silver Mountain and Sun Valley resorts are set to close on April 20th and 21st respectively, with the Grand Targhee Resort also ending its season on April 21st. Tamarack has yet to announce its closing date, and skiers should stay tuned for any potential bonus days that may extend the fun. These dates are subject to change, so visitors are encouraged to check with resorts directly for the latest information as they plan their final trips for the season. Which, if you don't want to miss any other updates related to skiing or any of the stories we've talked about, make sure to subscribe or follow us so you don't miss any of our future content. And talking about something that's a little bit fun, Idaho could say goodbye to daylight savings time. New bill explores change. This comes by the Boise Deb by Dawn Day. Idaho is contemplating a significant change to its observance of daylight savings time with a new bill that could see the state opting out of the time-altering practice. If passed, Idaho would no longer spring forward or fall back, instead joining Arizona and Hawaii in maintaining standard time year-round. This legislative move would shift the pattern of daylight across the state, leading to earlier sunrises and sunsets during the spring and summer months. For instance, on June 20th, Boise would witness a sunset at 8:30 p.m. and a sunrise at 5:03 a.m., reallocating daylight to the morning hours. This bill, however, hinges on a regional consensus, requiring at least 2 neighboring states from a specific group, which includes Oregon, Washington, Montana, Utah, and California, to enact a similar change. The fate of Idaho's timekeeping could ultimately rest in the hands of California lawmakers, as both Washington and Oregon have already passed bills to eliminate daylight savings times contingent on California's decision. The bill in question, House Bill 584, has already cleared the House and is waiting consideration by the Senate State Affairs Committee. Should it gain approval from the Senate and receive Governor Little's signature, the Gem State could rid ourselves of the bothersome time change, with the potential to influence the timekeeping practices of our neighbors. As the bill progresses, Idahoans and their legislatures are left to consider the implications of this change and whether the benefits of a consistent time standard outweigh the long-held tradition of adjusting clocks biannually. And then coming to our second to last one, Big Tex Trailers announces closure of Caldwell plant, 127 jobs affected. This comes by the Boise Dev by Sydney Kidd. The Big Tex Trailers, a subsidiary of American Trailer World ATW, has announced the impending closure of its trailer manufacturing plant in Caldwell, marking the end of its operations in the area since 2009. The company filed a worker adjustment and retraining notification, or a WARN, with the Idaho Department of Labor on March 8th, signaling the facility will cease operations in May, leading to the loss of 127 jobs. The WARN notice, a requirement under federal law for employers with 100 or more full-time employees, mandates at least 60 days advance written notice for worksite closures affecting 50 or more employees. Big Tex Trailers, known for producing a variety of trailers, including gooseneck, car hauler, utility, and dump trailers, has been a significant employer in Caldwell, hiring welders, painters, and general laborers. The closure not only impacts the local workforce, but also marks the end of a legacy that began with the acquisition of Circle J Trailers in 2009. Circle J, a local company founded in 1958 and known for its horse trailers, filed for bankruptcy protection in 2008 before being acquired by Big Tex. Despite the initial excitement surrounding the acquisition and the opportunity to continue the Circle J legacy, Big Tex eventually phased out the brand name. The decision to close the Caldwell plant comes despite recent recruitment efforts for new workers as of January. The layoffs are scheduled to begin on or about May 11th of 2024, leaving many unanswered questions about the reasons behind the closure and the future of the Big Tex's other locations. And finishing us out here, Idaho Fish and Game proposes hunting adjustment for mule deer and pronghorn recovery. This comes by the East Idaho News by Andrea Olson. After a particularly harsh winter in 2023 that took a toll on the mule deer and pronghorn population in eastern Idaho, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game is taking steps to ensure the continued recovery of these herds. Despite experiencing a mild winter this year, Fish and Game staff, in consultation with the Fish and Game Commission, are proposing to extend the modifications made to the 2023 hunting season into 2024. These adjustments including altering or eliminating certain antlerless mule deer and either sex pronghorn hunts reflects a cautious approach to wildlife management. Toby Boudreau, Fish and Game's deer and elk coordinator, made the case for the importance of giving these populations additional time to recover, acknowledging the concerns raised by hunters about the sensitivity of antlerless mule deer hunts. These proposed changes for the 2024 hunting season aim to strike a balance between conservation efforts and the hunting traditions in Idaho. These modifications, including adjustments to several controlled hunts and landowner appreciation or LAP hunts, with a full list of proposed game and season adjustments available for public review. Going forward, Idaho Fish and Game are monitoring herd health and habitation conditions. Which that brings us to the end here. Thank you for listening to the entire report. I sincerely hope you found it enjoyable and valuable. If you like the Midweek Report, make sure to check out the Sunday show where John and I talk about the main stories going on in Idaho and dive into them deeper. Also, if we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us via email at localyocalidaho2022@gmail.com or on Twitter by tweeting me at localyocalidaho. With the small team we have, we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. Thank you for your continued support and assistance. That's all for now. I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.